Hi there, my name is Nathaniel, and today I'm going to talk to you about TWIM, or Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation, and how to do the practice. Unlike other meditation techniques where you're instructed to try to force the mind to do something, or you're trying to block out all thoughts, we're not taking that approach here. A lot of people that try TWIM, myself included, find it's very easy to do. It produces results right away, and it's very lighthearted. It's fun. It's enjoyable to do. It doesn't feel like mental work at all. You're also going to find out that TWIM really emphasizes smiling, so there's a sense of lightheartedness that comes with the practice. Before I talk to you about how to actually do TWIM, there's two really important topics I want to discuss, and these are definitions. The first is, what is meditation? The reason I want to talk about this is a lot of people hear meditation or mindfulness thrown around these days, but they don't have a good working definition. So meditation is where we are observing how mind's attention could be placed on an object. And when we talk about that, I'll give you an example. Let's say that I asked you to bring up the image of an apple or think about an apple, and you had your eyes closed. You're going to put your mental attention on that apple, and as long as you're holding it on that apple, we could say that you are meditating on an apple. So in TWIM, when we are meditating, we are using a feeling of loving kindness, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. The other thing that I want to talk about is mindfulness. So again, this is another term that gets thrown around quite a bit, but no one really seems to have a good working definition. In TWIM, when we talk about mindfulness, what we are talking about is observing how mind's attention moves from one object to another. So in our apple example, if I asked you to close your eyes and meditate on an apple, that would occur for a period of time and then your mind would move away. And that's okay. And by the way, this happens to everybody. But it's that act of observing how your mind's attention has moved from the apple to something else that is mindfulness. So meditation and mindfulness and these definitions will become very relevant as we describe how to do meditation using TWIM. So part one, how to meditate using Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation. The first thing you want to do is find a quiet, comfortable space where you won't be disturbed. And this could be a corner office or somewhere in your bedroom. It really doesn't matter. What you want to do is have about 30 minutes where you're not going to be disturbed. Find a good comfortable chair that is not going to be uncomfortable for you to sit in for about 30 to 45 minutes. And what you want to do is, the posture you want to have is something like what you're seeing here. You want your back to be straight, but not overly stiff. You want to relax before you start doing TWIM. You want to relax in your mind. You want to relax in your body. Everything should be in a relaxed posture. Once you've got that posture established, it's really important that you don't physically move at all. And the reason for this is that you're going to be using your meditation and mindfulness skills, and if you're moving around or itching, it's going to be very distracting. One of the most important things in TWIM is smile. You will need to put a smile in your mind, on your eyes, your lips, and in your heart. The next thing you're going to do at TWIM is you're going to generate a feeling of loving kindness. Now, the way that I would equate this is, if you're holding a newborn baby or you've got a favorite pet, something that's very wholesome and brings up those good feelings, that is the feeling that you want to generate. And it's really important to note here that we are talking about feeling this feeling of loving kindness. It's not just an intellectual exercise. Once you have this feeling of loving kindness brought up, you want to put it right here in your heart, and you want to say to yourself these phrases: may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be calm. And it's important to have sincerity in this. You want to really mean what you're saying to yourself, and you want to feel that feeling. So this isn't just rote repetition of words. It's saying the words with intent, and it's saying them with feeling. When you're starting out, you want to have about 75% of your attention on the feeling and about 25% on the words. This feeling that you have in the center of your chest, in your heart area, that feeling of loving kindness, this is your meditation object. So I said just a moment ago how I talked about if you were meditating on an apple, that the apple was your meditation object. It's the same concept here, but now we're going to use that feeling of loving kindness as your meditation object. What you want to do is keep this going for about 10 or 15 minutes. After you've done that for about 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to move on to having your feeling of loving kindness as your object of meditation. And when you're just starting out, you would need to pick a spiritual friend. So here's some tips and tricks for that. You want to always pick somebody that is living, somebody that's not deceased. You need to choose somebody that you would not have romantic feelings for. And you don't want to pick a family member either. Generally speaking, you want to think of somebody that really, they make you smile or they make you light up when you think about them. So it could be a really good friend. It could be somebody that you respect. It could be somebody that you know personally, or it could be a public figure. And by the way, you don't have to tell the person that you've chosen that they are your spiritual friend. So in the second half of the meditation, you are going to picture your spiritual friend in the center of your chest. And you're going to say, just as I feel happy, may you be happy and peaceful. You're going to surround them with that same loving kindness feeling. And you want to visualize or see them smiling and content and happy. Now, there are some people that when they are asked to visualize something, they don't see pictures, and that's okay. What's really important here is that feeling of loving kindness, of goodwill for the spiritual friend. When you're doing this, and this does take some practice when you're starting out, this is not something that you're trying to force. You want this to radiate or glow. A good analogy is like kind of the warmth from a candle. It's not pushing itself out into the environment. It's just kind of gently radiating. You want to keep this feeling of loving kindness or goodness going now for about 20 or 30 minutes. So your first 10 to 15 minutes is that feeling of loving kindness to yourself, and then the second half, 20, 30 minutes or longer, is going to be for your spiritual friend. Now, let's talk about what happens when your mind wanders. And by the way, this happens to everyone. This is expected. It is known. This is just how human beings are. So if you are meditating and you have your attention on that feeling of loving kindness, that's going to persist for a period of time, and then whoop, your mind is going to move away from that. And again, this is completely natural. It's okay. It happens to everybody. We expect this. So in other practices where they talk about, trying to control thoughts or force things to be a certain way, we don't do that in TWIM at all. And the reason we don't do it is it doesn't work. You cannot control thoughts. If you think otherwise, I'd invite you to sit down and try for a couple minutes and see if you can control the thoughts that come up. It's just not going to happen. The good news is that we have a process that deals with this when your mind's attention moves away because you've used your mindfulness to observe it. And we call this process the 6 R's. The reason it's called the 6 R's is there are 6 R's. So here's the sequence of events that would happen. You are meditating and you have your attention on that feeling of loving kindness, either for yourself or for your spiritual friend, and that will persist for a period of time, and then whoop, your mind's attention is going to move. Again, this is totally okay. It's natural. It happens to everyone. When this happens, what's important is you are using your mindfulness and you have noticed that, hey, I had my attention on that feeling of loving kindness, but now it's gone on to something else. So the first thing you'll do is recognize that that has occurred. And the way you recognize that is with your mindfulness. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to release that. So think of it like if you were holding something really, hard in your hand and then you just released, that's exactly what you're going to do. We're not trying to chase this down. We're not trying to figure out why it happened. We're not worried about what's before. You recognize that this has happened and you release. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to relax. And when I say relax, I mean relax everything. You may notice a little bit of tension or tightness in your mind or your brain or your central nervous system when your attention veers away. Everybody is a little different. But what's important here is that you relax. Relax your mind. Relax your body. You're going to re-smile next. You're going to bring up that smile. And this is a smile it's in your mind, it's in your eyes, and a little smile here on your lips. And the reason it's important on the lips is studies have shown that physiologically, when you smile physically, there's a sense of relaxation, a little bit of letting go. Next, you are going to return. So you will bring your attention back to your object of meditation. If it's in the first 10 minutes or so, it's that feeling of loving kindness for yourself. If it's in the latter part of the meditation, it's going to be for your spiritual friend. And then lastly, it's repeat. So you will use the 6 R's as often as needed. So to run through this really quickly, we're meditating and we're in that first 10 minutes, let's say, and we have that feeling of loving kindness for ourselves. And then all of a sudden, I'm thinking about, oh yeah, I need to buy groceries today. I recognize my mind's attention has moved away. I release it. I don't worry about it. I don't chase it. I don't try to figure out why. I just let it go. Relax, physically, mentally. Re-smile. Bring my awareness back to that feeling of loving kindness and continue on. You use the 6 R's whenever your mind has wandered off your object of meditation or you become distracted. I would also say that especially if you are starting out or you've never meditated before, your length of time of having your awareness on your object of meditation is going to vary. You know, for some people it might be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. Everybody's a little bit different. I think the biggest thing here to know is that this is a new skill that you're developing. You're just starting out. So this does take a period of time to get used to. Having a meditation practice, setting aside some time, following a set of instructions, I would say is a lot like learning to play piano. You don't walk into a piano lesson and instantly know how to read the sheet music and where your hands go on the keys and what the instructor is telling you to do. This is a skill that you develop. So in a 30-minute TWIM session, what it looks like is you're going to get settled down, you're going to get in a chair, you're going to be, your back straight but not overly stiff. You're going to be relaxed. Smile. Have a smile on your face. That first 10 or 15 minutes, you are going to radiate loving kindness to yourself. You're going to use the 6 R's whenever your mind wanders. The next 20, 30, 45 minutes, however long you can do it, you are going to radiate loving kindness to your spiritual friend. And then, whenever your mind moves away, just like whether you're radiating loving kindness to yourself or your spiritual friend, when mind moves away from your object of meditation, which is our feeling of loving kindness, you'll use the 6 R's. Some common things that beginners run into. A lot of people try too hard. They'll sit down in a chair and, they'll get set and, they're really going to dig in and their eyes are closed and way too much effort. This is fun. It's enjoyable. You want to be very relaxed. And this is a little counterintuitive to kind of how we operate in the world. But believe me, the relaxation step really helps, really works. It makes a huge difference in your meditation practice. The other thing that you have to be aware of is you may be judging yourself. You might sit down and say, oh my gosh, I couldn't meditate for 3 seconds and my mind moved away from loving kindness, or I'm having a difficult time figuring out who my spiritual friend should be. Please go easy on yourself. Do not have a lot of self-judgment about this. It takes a little bit of time to learn this skill, but typically people that have never meditated before, when we show them how to do this with TWIM, they're up and running in a matter of hours or days, at the most, maybe a week or 2. Again, everyone is a little bit different. It just depends. The other really important thing to know is that everyone, I mean every single person that sits down to meditate, TWIM or otherwise, They have their awareness on, a feeling of loving kindness or a meditation object, and mind is going to move away. That's just natural. It's okay. Please don't beat yourself up over it. Another common mistake is people will rush through the steps or the 6 R's. So what you'll want to find is a good cadence or a good pace that works for you. You don't want it to be too rote. You don't want it to be too fast, too slow. Find out what works for you and is just right. And you'll know as you practice more and more, you'll get an intuitive sense of what's working. The other thing is that sometimes people are expecting to go into a meditation practice and they're looking for all these, spiritual fireworks and things to happen. And sometimes those things do happen. But what's important is that you are actually just putting in the time and doing the practice. When you use TWIM and you are meditating on loving kindness, it is a very gentle, but can be a very, very deep and profound practice. So I would say trust the process. And again, if you're just starting out with TWIM or you've never meditated before, realize that this is a new skill and it does take some time to develop, but the rewards are well worth it. Now that you've got your TWIM meditation practice started and you've been doing this daily or weekly, some of the ways that you can help keep the practice going are this. You need to be really kind to yourself, and I mean that with all sincerity. You need to appreciate that you're taking time out for yourself and you're having a meditation practice, and you will find it does bring you joy, calm. Some people find that they sleep better after doing the practice. There's all kinds of great benefits. I would highly recommend that you meditate for a minimum of 30 minutes, and ideally every day before you get up and get going and life becomes very busy. You can meditate in the evening or afternoon, but the challenge with that is you usually have the busyness of the day that you're dragging into that. Not everybody can have the time to meditate 7 days a week. So I would say, if you're one of those folks, then go ahead and carve out 3 days or 5 days, and eventually you'll work up to 7 days where this kind of becomes a routine and something you do daily. If you've never meditated before or you're new to TWIM, there's a PDF available that has the instructions of radiating loving kindness to yourself, radiating loving kindness to your spiritual friend, and then how to use the 6 R's. I would recommend that you print these out and tape it up somewhere that you can see. This is what I did when I was starting out. And also have a clock so that you can see how much time has passed. Again, at first, this is going to be somewhat mechanical. You're going to be looking at the clock. Are we in the first 10 minutes, the next 20? What object am I supposed to use, myself or my friend? But it will come together extremely quickly. The other thing that you'll find is you can radiate loving kindness in everyday life. This is an all-the-time practice. You don't have to be formally meditating or sitting on a cushion. You can radiate goodwill to yourself, to others, all throughout the day. I would also say that whenever you encounter stress of any kind, relax, smile, let go of that. And you'll find that as you do this more and more, it starts to become a habit and becomes natural. And then when you do go to formally sit in your meditation practice, I think you'll find that you're going to pick up where you left off a lot quicker than before, because now it's something that's becoming integrated into something you do all the time. If you have any questions, if you would like some additional assistance, or there's anything that you need assistance with, you can contact us at the TWIM Network, and one of our teachers will get back to you right away.